I'm just going to address the flashes at the bottom of your screens before we go ahead, where China has gone ahead and said that they've reached a consensus with the US when it comes to expanding agricultural trade. And this is a commentary coming in on the back of the US-China bilateral deal. They've said China will be working with US to properly resolve the issues. And secondly, China has suspended the rare earth related measures for the next 1 year. This is going to be a key positive development that we are seeing so far when it comes to halting the export controls that were announced back then on the 9th of October. In fact, on the back of this, Mahima, what we need to understand is the moment the exports of rare earth is controlled from here on, and they've halted it at least for the next 1 year, it becomes a major relief for a lot of industries.
Absolutely, and especially your EVs, where a lot of this content is being used. But as Hiral was addressing, China has reached consensus with the US on expanding, of course, the agricultural trade. That's the one part, and the rare earth metals is the other part. And China is to halt export controls announced on 9th of October for a year. From here on is what the news flash is suggesting. But China's, I think I'll quickly take this up with Lancelot as well. Lancelot, you heard about the development taking place, and this is between, of course, the US-China bilateral that's taken place. Your view with regards to this development, and how does it, provide relief to a lot of companies that, will kind of benefit from this?
So I think this development is positive because the tension that was there between US and China, both from the US side wanting China to reduce the trade deficit, and hence they imposed tariffs on Chinese exports to the US, and then China in retaliation, put in export controls on the rare earth magnets, which again would have impacted a lot of industries based out of the US, especially in the electric vehicles and green technologies, as well as to some extent on the the data centers which require battery storage facilities. A lot of them use some of these rare earth minerals in their batteries. So to that extent, this particular tension is now moved off, or at least for a year there would be some relief for these companies, and that would mean that US companies engaged in the space can focus on actually growing their businesses. As far as India is concerned, it really doesn't make too much of a difference unless they also agree that we will get a higher allocation of the various magnets and these rare earth materials that are required for electric vehicles, because a lot of Indian two-wheeler manufacturers in the EV space were struggling to increase their production because of shortage of these rare earth magnets. So if that also is a corollary to this transaction being accepted for the US, I think that would be good for the Indian two-wheeler manufacturers in the EV space as well.
Okay, Lancelot, I'm going to reiterate this. So basically, what they've said is that China will be suspending the rare earth related measures for the next 1 year. Secondly, they will be halting the export controls that were announced on the 9th of October for 1 year as well. And they've reached a consensus with the US, and this is on expanding agricultural trade. China will be working with the US to properly resolve TikTok issues, and the US will be suspending 50% entity list export controls for the next 1 year. Now, what is the kind of impact this could have on the Indian markets is the key question that we have over here. And to understand that, first up, let's just pull up Nifty 50 on the screens and see the kind of reaction that our markets are having on the back of the consensus that US and India have reached. No major reaction. We continue to see that flattish move, 0.5% downtick where we were so far ago. Apart from that, let's just pull up the auto index, because that's where we will see some bit of a reaction. Maybe defense is a space where we could see some bit of a reaction coming in there as well on the back of the rare earth magnets. There you go, auto. That pressure continues. Defense is seeing some bit of positive move. It's pretty mixed. Names like MTAR Tech, BEML, Unimec, Astra Micro, Zentech are a few of the names which are seeing a positive momentum. But names like Data Patterns, Mazgon, Cochin Ship are trading under pressure. Lancelot, my question to you is, the commentary that's coming in from the meeting that Trump and Xi Jinping have had, China has said they will be suspending the export curbs when it comes to rare earths for the next 1 year. They've said that US will be suspending the 50% entity list export controls for 1 year as well to support China. And they've reached a consensus when it comes to US on expanding agricultural trade. What would this actually mean for the Indian markets according to you?
So I think it does not really generate anything directly for the Indian markets. But when you have two of the world's largest economies in a mode where they are trying to fight each other on trade and tariff issues, the fact that they've reached some kind of consensus means there'll be a lot more stability in the global markets, and between these two economies, which are the largest in the world, they will have stability over there will obviously mean some positive fallout for India as well, because if inflation is kept low in the US, and trade deficits are lower, then you will see the US economy growing faster. And if there's a faster growth in the US economy, obviously companies which are exporting to the US will have better opportunities to sell their goods, services in the US. Especially from a service perspective, a lot of the IT companies depend on the US economy. So if the economy is doing well, definitely it'll be a positive for the Indian economy, but it's not a one-to-one or a direct correlation. As the US economy does well, we will also do better.
Lansar, I'm going to come in on this one. GMDC, that was one of the counters which actually saw a strong surge on the back of rare earth imports that were curbed, right? Now, this probably will become slightly negative from a GMDC, at least from a sentimental perspective. Would you agree to that, number one, though the stock is up nearly 2% in trade? But is this a candidate which could then start seeing profit booking from here on?
So I think, there are two things that have happened in GMDC. One was that the government has decided to make an investment of almost 7,000 crores plus another 1,500 crores through GMDC to increase the domestic production of critical minerals and rare earth magnets. Now, this is a longer term investment that is being made to increase their capacity to produce these critical minerals. So this should be positive for GMDC. So that is not going to change with the US, with the US-China agreement, because anyway there is a shortage of rare earth minerals and magnets, and India wants to be self-sufficient and not dependent on China over a period of time. So I think it's not going to have a major impact. Yes, GMDC, the share price had moved up, on the back of this news, mainly on the fact that, there's going to be a huge investment there, and so it's positive for them. But I think that may cool off now that is there.
Got it. I think so. A cool off could be on the cards for a GMDC as well.